This is Joel Markowitz from DCTheaterReviews.com. I'm here at Backstage at Howard Community College in Columbia, Maryland, with actors Bruce Nelson and Bill Largess, who are appearing in Bach at Leipzig.
I am Bruce Nelson.
And I'm Bill Largess.
Well, let's start with Bruce. Tell me who you play in Bach at Leipzig.
I play Georg Schott in the play, and I did some research and found out that there is a Schott music library. It seems to me, or Schott School of Music, or some. Schott is a fairly significant name in music in Germany, and my character in the piece, I think, is the most out for blood. He seems to be the most bitter and ready for finally his sort of ascension to the post that he has wanted for the better part of his life, but he's always kind of been just on the threshold of it.
What about you, Bill?
I am playing Georg Friedrich Kaufmann, also based on a completely real character from the time. He was a well-known composer and musician. In fact, there's a number of CDs of his music I've discovered out there, so I'm going to look for some of those. And he is kind of the opposite of Bruce's character. He's not out for blood. He's just stumbled into this situation. He wasn't aware that they were holding auditions. He's very sweet, and he's not very bright, and he's often confused. And he gets lost a lot.
But you're good at playing confused people, aren't you?
Well, I'm not even sure it's playing. I'm just good at being confused.
Well, I was lucky enough to sit in on a rehearsal today before we sat down.
We were, yeah.
And can you tell us a little bit about what was going on first, what your character was doing in that scene, and also what great suggestions the Helen Hayes Award-winning director Casey Campbell had for you, some advice?
Well, I think one of the, we were working on Act 2 scenes because we had spent time last week before our break on Act 1, and so we need to hammer through Act 2 and get it up to speed. And at this point in the play, my character, Schott, is machinations and little dealings are in full force as he connects with the other composers who are vying for this post, and he wants to make sure that he is in the prime position to take over. So it means having to wheel and deal a bit. So we're in full wheeling and dealing mode. And I think one of the brilliant things about Casey is that she lets us play and find our way through, and then offers suggestions as to how to tweak and shape. But the large part of it is us being allowed to play, and her trust in us coming up with what will be necessary for the scene to work.
Okay, Bill.
And in the scenes we were doing today, I said earlier that my character is often lost in the play. In these scenes, he was literally lost. There's a sequence of entrances and exits where he's trying to find a room that he's supposed to be in, and he can't find it, and he keeps coming back into the area that's the stage and overhearing things that he shouldn't overhear. And so the others fool him into thinking that he's been listening to a rehearsal of a play that they're rehearsing, which he completely believes without a moment's hesitation. And it leads into some great fun where later he's very confused about what's going on. For me, in, again, the overall process, but very much today, we're at a place now where Casey is zeroing in on some of the timing and the delivery that works best for this as a farce. My character especially is really mostly a very farcical character. Some of the others have far more serious moments, and I don't much. So the timing and the interchange with the others is very, very important and has to be very precise. And I have over the years learned to trust Casey very implicitly on those issues because she's right.
And with farce, it's exactly right. It's so specific, and it's so about timing, and it's so about making sure that things are sharp and clear and clean, and head turns out to the audience are specific.
Well, let me ask you if you both play the organ or had any experience doing that, because that's a very instrumental instrument here in the show.
I actually had an experience where I knew an organist at a church, and he asked if I wanted to see the organ chamber, which people don't have access to, and there are these huge wooden bellows in this tiny room, and he played while I was inside listening. So my experience in playing the organ, zero. But the sound that it produces, from the inside and the outside, is just a glorious amount of music and sound that this instrument, just looking at the keys, not the stops, not the pedals, it's a massive, room-size instrument that creates amazing and detailed sound.
Okay, Bill.
I don't play the organ. I don't play any musical instrument. I did, however, spend about 7 years as a child in a boys' choir at St. Matthew's Cathedral down in Washington. Spent many, many, many years up in the choir loft, standing right next to the man playing the organ, and we sang some Bach. So I had some Bach experience, and certainly have a great deal of respect for organists. I'm always especially impressed when they start doing stuff with their feet. It's one thing that they have all the various ranks of keyboards, but that they also have another keyboard down at their feet with pedals is always very impressive to me.
I want to talk a little bit more about how music is so important in this play.
Well, I think Casey was very wise to hire Chaz Marsh as the sound designer, who will be filling all of the time in between, during, and after the scenes with, I guess, a variety of Bach and a variety of that style of music. So it's, the whole piece is written in a fugue form, where a voice comes in and then is added to, and then more voices are added, and then those voices are intertwined, and then they break apart until you're left with a single voice. So music is what propels this entire piece.
It's also it's a very nice script in a lot of ways, and one of the things I like best about it is that it takes the music so seriously. It makes some it's very funny, but it makes some very serious points about how powerful music is in our lives, or can be anyway, and how important it is. So the snippets of Bach that we'll hear, I don't think we'll hear probably any complete piece, but they'll really have a great impact, because the importance of the music is so much a part of the play itself.
Let's talk about the costumes and the sets, because they're very important also.
Well, again, Casey is famous for pulling together an amazing team of producers, not producers, but a team of a production staff. Milagros Ponce de Leon is our set designer, and she has created an amazingly, just sort of an impressionistic take on a cathedral. Very, very tall doors and walls that kind of reach to the ceiling, and basically an open playing area, steps as well. And the lighting designer, I believe it's Dan, isn't it Dan? Dan Covey, excuse me. He, again, a lovely designer, and able to create lots of mood and appropriate dimension to the set. So, and the costumes. Kathleen Geldard is renting a lot of pieces from the Washington Opera. So thousands and thousands of dollars per costume, and they're not light. They are.
Bill, how heavy are they? Are they really warm?
So far, of course, we've just tried them on in nice, comfortable dressing rooms. So they're substantial. The people in this period wore a lot of clothing. But the fact is that we'll also be wearing large, elaborate wigs, and this is a very, very physical, active show. So my guess is that they're going to be fairly hot. I think that we'll be warm during the show. But I think having costumes that are so correct to the period and are so handsome really helps us as actors. I mean, it's always, it takes you to a whole new level when you put the costume on and see that look, and it helps you with the proper physical demeanor and movements when you are in some ways constrained by those period costumes and find yourself freed up to do other things.
Because I'm getting a lot of questions from theater goers out there that I bump into, and they want to know how similar or different it is from Amadeus. So I'm sure you've heard this question a lot. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Certainly music it was vital, obviously, in making Amadeus happen. And what's interesting, I guess a parallel for me is, and what's lovely about this piece, is that there are some significant laugh out loud moments right up against significant turning points in the hearts of these characters, where there are deep realizations. My character, for example, realizes that he will never achieve this post, and probably wasn't meant to achieve this post, because upon hearing Bach's music, he realizes how probably small he is in comparison, and how he misjudged so significantly what he thought he was after. So turning points like that right up against crazy, rollicking physical comedy was certainly true in Amadeus.
Right. There certainly are similarities in those kind of regards, but I think overall it doesn't strike me as very much like Amadeus, in the sense that Amadeus is much more straightforwardly a dramatized historical biography, whereas this sort of takes the actual facts, because it is based on a completely true situation, and sort of springboards that into this sort of clever and fast-moving study of all of these various people with these various concerns at the time. And so in that regard, I think Amadeus is perhaps a little bit more, I'm going to say realistic. I don't know that that's really the right word. And this is a little more fantastic. It's based on an actual moment in history with actual people and dealing with the real music, but it sort of uses that as its starting point, whereas Amadeus, I think, was much more the story of Mozart and Salieri. Mm. This is about much more than just Bach getting the job at Leipzig.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to wrap it up here, and thank you both for spending some time with us today. Please invite our listeners to Bach at Leipzig and tell them what kind of theater experience they will have.
They'll get a lot of laughs, as well as some really heartfelt moments too.
Yes, I would say it's a laugh riot that makes you think.
Okay, guess who just came and sat in the seat near me?
Hi, Joel.
And who are you, pretty woman?
Your long-lost buddy, Casey.
Here's Casey Campbell, the director of Bach at Leipzig. So tell me what attracted this play to you and why you wanted to put it on here at Backstage.
Well, actually, a very close friend of mine gave me the script, Carl Miller, who you know, recommended...
Who's nominated for Hamlet this year, the Helen Hayes Award.
Yes, he is. Gave me the script and said that I really should take a look at it. And he knew that as an undergrad, I had studied music, and that's what my undergraduate degree was in. I was a conductor, and I loved music. And I had also lived in Germany for 2 years. So I put those two things together, and it seemed like a perfect fit to do Bach at Leipzig. Plus, I really like doing guy shows, and this show has a lot of testosterone in it and just a lot of good male energy on the stage. So.
And can you tell us a little bit about what the play is to you, since you're the director?
For me, this play is a lot about free will versus predestination. We've got 7 organists who desperately want to obtain the music post in Leipzig in 1722, and this is an actual historic event. There was a real audition. And Itamar Moses, the playwright, has taken this idea of the 7 organists competing and turned it into a study in people who try to get what they want through machinations and thinking they can will something to happen, when true genius is something that can't be willed but is just given. And that's a realization that all the organists eventually have to come to at the end, that they didn't lose. It's just that the person with the greatest gift ascended.
How do you want the audience to feel when they walk out of the theater after the performance?
This is one of the few farces that also combines philosophy with farce. And so when people leave the theater, I'm really hoping that they take away with them a feeling of transcendence, because we've left behind the machinations of the 7 organists all batting battling it out between each other, and the music of Bach seems to ring out at the end as the music of the spheres that transcends all our worldly fears, all our worldly accusations, and really lifts the spirit. And I think that is something that I hope this farce does for people, that in addition to a good laugh, that they also come away with a transcendent feeling of the power of music and the power of art in our lives.
Bach at Leipzig runs March 16th through April 1st in the Smith Theater at Howard Community College in Columbia, Maryland. Tickets are $12 through $24 and can be purchased by calling 410-772-4900 or can be purchased online at www.repstage.org.